and welcome to episode 30. And today we're in the microphone nostalgia department. I got this microphone when we cleared my dear old mum's house out. My dad bought this microphone in 1973. He was the entertainment's manager at a holiday centre. So think lots of people on holiday, little stage, singing, dancing, that sort of thing. And he bought this microphone and I'd forgotten all about it. It won't set the world on fire when we ever listen to it. It's a microphone called a Grampian DP4. Now, for most people who know a little bit about microphone history, we've got things like the STC mics and all those lovely ribbons that today are, well sought after because they sound really gorgeous. Now, my memory of this microphone was that they sound pretty dreadful, but it is old. Back in that time, we had the STCs. We also had some of the Reslow ribbons, beloved of the Beatles of that era. But Grampian were very much into public address, so making announcements and that sort of thing. And you occasionally saw them on TV. But they were not ever what you would call collector's items then. And really, people now want them for the sort of the nostalgia of the old products, not to use. They did three versions. They did low impedance, medium impedance and high impedance. Back then, in the early 70s, high impedance was the sort of microphone you would buy so you could plug it into a guitar amplifier. So if you bought one of those really loud 40-watt guitar amps, you could plug a microphone in and sing along with your electric guitar. Medium impedance were the ones that we now use between about 150 and maybe 600 ohms-ish. So that sort of impedance that we've now accepted as a standard back then was termed medium impedance, and there were microphones that were low impedance, 25 or 50 ohms. So they had three. This particular one is a high impedance one. And if I open it up, it's in the original box. It's in the original packing. Yeah. A pristine DP4. It's an extremely odd microphone. At first glance, we have one entry on there. So the vast proportion of these were considered to be omnidirectional, but they have a little side vent. And the side vent, of course, should make it a cardioid. Now, I've actually got the original instructions for this, and the instructions make no mention whatsoever of any directional properties. They give you the frequency response curve, they tell you the sensitivity, tell you the impedance. They don't mention anything about directivity. So it'll be interesting to have a go. It uses a totally, if I put it down here, it uses a totally non-standard connector. So there is actually a screw thread which provides the ground connection, and then the two pins on the top. So, an extremely neat microphone, and this one is in absolutely brand spanking condition. It's great. They're the sort of microphone that back in the 70s, if you saw people using them, and they were quite common on stage, they would be sort of that distance away. You would never see anybody do that. Mainly because they pop like mad, and they just are a sort of neutral sounding microphone that for speech works best here. And from my memory, directivity was pretty much omni. But we'll plug it in a minute and just try it and see what happens. Cable wise, what have we got? Cable wise, we've got an unbalanced jack, and at the other end the microphone connector. And the microphone connector is very much something that I think if you lost, you're not going to get another one. I doubt anybody's got these. As far as I'm able to work out, they never had a sort of standard. Grampian invented their own. It wasn't used by anybody else that I'm aware of. So let's have it plugged in and see what happens. I'm going to stop there because I've got no output. I assumed that the instrument input on this interface was going to be sufficient to give me at least something, and it's not, so I need to investigate that. So back in a minute. Well, turned out it wasn't the interface not having enough gain. It was that the jack plug on the end, one of the screws had come loose. Yep, I'm not joking, no solder. The actual jack plug fitted to the end of this one was attached with two flathead screws. Very strange design. I'm recording this for convenience sake into the H6. So we've got our normal reference SM7B. And I'll switch across to the DP4. You're now hearing the DP4. Let's just go so far to say as this is not perhaps recording quality, is it? It's a very thin sounding microphone. We need to discover if this thing actually does have proximity effect, which will tell us that if it really is a cardioid. I'm thinking that it's supposed to be an omni, but that side vent does have me a little bit confused. So I'll talk quietly and go in close, and I'll try not to blast it too much. So this is me, and now we're in quite close, and the microphone's about 1 inch away from my mouth. Now, if this was a typical cardioid microphone, it would have got much bassier, and it would have got much warmer. So with the microphone this close, if it still sounds thin and weedy, it's an omni. So I'm going to move away. That side hole, there's like a little silver grommet. And what I'm wondering is if that is the rear access to make it cardioid. Now, if it is, I could cover that hole up very easily with my thumb. So let's do a typical test first of me just rotating it round. So I'm now talking from behind it. I'll try and keep the diaphragm the same distance away. So I'm now going round, and I'm now talking into the front of the microphone. I'll go round, that's the side, and that, as far as I can do, is the rear. So rear, 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 go round to the side, going round, going round, going round, that's now the front. Now, if I stick my finger on the vent's now covered up. My thumb is completely covering the little hole, removing any possibility of audio getting to the rear of the diaphragm. So has that meant that we've now gone to a cardioid? Can you now hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming around to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming around to the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Be an interesting test. I've actually deliberately not connected some headphones up to the recorder, so I don't know what it's recording. I can see levels on the meter, but I have no idea what the actual quality is. My initial test made me think, ooh, I don't like this. But I didn't do any of the tests with directionality, and I didn't do any tests covering the vent up, so it will be a surprise to me when I hear it. I'm going to release the vent now. Let's see if any changes happen. There we are. Vent is now released. I really don't know. So we'll have to just do a little test and see what happens. So anyway, what I have here is a very nice condition, 1973 Grampian DP4 stroke H4 high impedance. I think it's rated at 50k. It's plugged direct in to the H6 preamp though. Now the H6 has XLRs, but the combi type, so it does have a higher impedance input as well for guitars and line inputs and things that you can stuff into the side. So I shouldn't have a matching problem. But it'll be interesting to see if this thing has actually got any form of use in a recording sort of situation. My feeling is it's an interesting, nostalgic microphone that looks nice in the original box with the original packing, but I don't think it's going to be something we can use. Anyway, that's the quick test on this one. We'll be back in the next 1 or 2 episodes with the promised counterfeit microphone topic. And we're going to look at some microphones that are not what they appear to be. So that's one for the future. Anyway, thanks for watching this short one. This is episode 30. If you liked it or interested, just click the subscribe button. Give me a like if you like. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care, everyone. Have a good week. Bye.